Hi, friends. Fred Love here. I am just doing a little off the cuff streaming to announce that I am about to start a brand new Star Trek Adventures role playing game campaign. I think we're going to try to stream our first episode a week from this Saturday. That is the evening of April 11th, as long as our schedules all work out. And I know that we're living in some strange and scary times. I feel pretty strongly that everyone could use a big dose of the optimism and the bright future as depicted in Star Trek, the original series. And so this next campaign, I'm titling it Star Trek Explorers, and it will be set in the original series era on a Constitution class starship. The players are guys I've known for a couple of years. We've run some really fantastic games together. And so I just feel really strongly that getting back to the adventure, the excitement, the optimism of the original series would do us some good, give us an imaginative escape, and maybe some folks out there on the internet could use the same thing. I sort of suspect that maybe there's an audience for that. So a little bit about me. I'm just kind of doing an off-the-cuff stream right now, just to make sure that I remember how to do all this stuff, because it's been a while since I've live streamed a game on YouTube. So I'm just trying to make sure everything is working properly. But I also wanted to reintroduce myself. My name's Fred Love. I'm a freelance writer. I live in central Iowa. I've written for several products in the Star Trek Adventures line, which I have right here. I wrote an adventure in this book. These are the voyages. This was the first adventure compendium that came out from Odysseus. I wrote a scenario in here called Biological Clock. And then a little while later, I wrote a scenario for this book, Strange New Worlds. This is the second adventure mission compendium. That's volume 2. And for this one, I wrote an adventure called A Cure Worse Than the Disease, which is actually about a pandemic striking an alien planet, which is weird in more ways than one. Most recently, I wanted to let you guys know that I did some writing for the Delta Quadrant source book, which just came out like last week. That's an awesome cover. All these books have just gorgeous art. So I've done some writing for Star Trek Adventures. I've been running it as a game master ever since Modiphius launched the playtest several years ago. I feel like I know the system fairly well. I'm not a big rules guy. In fact, I like to improvise. I like story more so than I like stopping the game to look up mechanics in the book. But I try to adhere to the rules whenever possible. I've run a lot of Star Trek Adventures. I've written for Star Trek Adventures. I'm really excited to start this next campaign, which I'm calling Star Trek Explorers. So the pillars of this campaign are going to be exploring the unknown and optimism. I want it to feel like, as much as possible, this is a campaign where I'm recreating the episodic nature and structure and feel and themes of the original series. It's just going to take place on a different starship. The name for the starship that we've chosen is the Venture, which we think fits the concept of exploring the unknown and setting off to distant parts of the galaxy and not really knowing what we'll find out there. So I've got 3 players. I'm thinking maybe I might expand that later, depending on how all of this depends on how well we're able to coordinate our schedules. Obviously, that's always a really big difficulty, I think, with any gaming group. So we'll see. If we're having an easy time coming up with games, with dates to play games and get to our computers, then maybe we'll open it up for another player or 2. But I'm just really excited to get back with these guys and play some really classic feeling Star Trek. So if you have any questions or ideas, things you'd like to see in Star Trek Explorers, please hit me up. You can write it down in the comments here or look me up on Twitter. And man, I'm just really pumped to get back to the basics of Star Trek. So hopefully this works. Hopefully I'll have more news soon about when exactly we'll be launching our first session. My plan is to run this campaign as kind of a mini campaign, to play as many episodes as we can while we're all social distancing, while we're all kind of cooped up at home. One thing about this, I haven't really left my house for any great amount of time the last couple of weeks. I don't think any of the other players really have either. So we're feeling cooped up and we really feel like we could use an escape. So hopefully this will give us that. So live long and prosper. I'll see you guys soon. Thank you so much for listening.